going on? My most anticipated album of the year dropped on just last night. I wanted to take some time to really perfect this album review, and this is J. Cole's The Fall Off. Now, this is apparently he's gonna be his final studio album and it's his seventh studio album, following up to May's 2021 album, The Off Season, and following up his career of what he presides as a early sports adjacent level career from what he did on his debut mixtapes on his debut mixtape, 2007's The Come Up, 2009's The Warm Up, which is the second mixtape, and the highly most coveted mixtape, 2010, Friday Night Lights. So this is his seventh album following up that, and it followed up his first record, The Sideline Story, which he initially got signed to Roc Nation and debuted that album on Roc Nation with Jay-Z. And initially was discovered by Eminem's other manager, Paul Rosenberg, and he was pretty much late in the he was like in the underground scene. But this record is the antithesis of that record, of all of those records, and all of those records encompassing into one project. So the first disc I'm gonna go over. I'm not gonna go over every song, but just gonna go over songs that I really thought was interesting. So the intro, 29 intro, as I was reading into it, is just a country record. It's not really anything to really go into detail on that. He's pretty much returning back to his hometown in Fayetteville. This is at the age of 29. He's going back to the same home that Forest Hills Drive, which he, was, born in. And then if you didn't know the album cover, this is his first, I think this is his first drum machine kit set. And it's a whole bunch of other records, and I think it was a mix player also on the other side, and he has a whole bunch of records that he's playing in here from the cover. Now, the song 2-6 is pretty much going over like it's just like a just a radio. Those are more like the Southern roots, the club banging record, and he was just really much just doing his typical, braggadocious spitting on there. He's reminiscing about times where he was at in his hometown, the 2-6, and he's pretty much looking at aspect of just of things feeling different, of things feeling not so much in referencing, and not really much in referencing of like just the areas, reminiscing about the places that he went to, that he took trips to at the time. So that's pretty much a referencing of why he made that record. And like he looked at old monuments, he looked at old areas, trips that he took to, just stuff like that. This right where he returned to his hometown on that record. Then you get the song Safety. And pretty much what I gather from this record is just him looking at the area scene and the safety in the area scene in Fayetteville. And he's looking at it from a perspective of like a lens of like, I'm home, I'm here. I want to. He's seeing his family. He's looking at it. He's looking at his limelight, his private life, and he's looking at it from a standpoint of just, do I feel like I'm here? Do I feel like I'm there? Do I feel like I'm just, I'm at peace? I'm at odds with myself. And he's seeing the violence. He's seeing the violence in his hometown. He's seeing like just bad areas, rough areas, rough patches. He was going through rough patches earlier in his life, in his family life, and I feel like he's really tackling that so heavily and so coveted in this record. I thought that was very intriguing. I thought that was very interesting that he did that. And so that's what I thought about the record. I liked the record. I thought it was really nice. I thought it was really cool. He really is going in so much detail about just his own life and his own way of just seeing the violence and seeing the environment, being a product of his environment, and just feeling like, what is he really safe back home, or is he really like, as he was graduating from St. John's, coming home from New York and everything. So he's attributing back to what he was doing in his southern roots. Now, the track "Run a Train." Now, this is the track with Future that I will talk about. Now, the features on this album is very, very short. It's not really a whole lot of features. Like I said, Future is on this song "Run a Train," and the next track I'm gonna get to, "Bounce Roll Blues," which I really like. He's on there with Tim's, and also that was produced by The Alchemist. I'll get to that record in a minute. But "Run a Train," and I love a lot of people's like, "Oh, we're gonna run a train." No, he's not talking about that. He's not the typical like, "Oh, let's run a train on somebody." You think he's talking about a female on this record, a woman on this record? He's not. He's not doing that. This is a interpolation of a older record um, from the South, but I cannot remember exactly what record that was from. But I like the lines he says here. They say the Lord timing is divine, and they walk with him so that he explains minds. Cold deep down, you may find all the pain that creates a strange bond. Slums connected like the drums on the bass line. Petrified of death and poverty, I chase mine. Like breathalyzer test, I walk a straight line, meditating for a better state in a deranged mind, till I saw Buddha pose and realized my throwing gang signs. I guess the lesson is you can't escape crime, even though my strays flying, I remain calm. Fay and nine, my heart you beyond the same time. If I'm being honest, I could feel that flame dying. And then he says, so I'm riding through the city streets, reaching my memory to hang on, going backwards like a penalty, seeing the younger me, but my day's gone. Wild times, looking up cloud now, how can Jermaine climb? Remember when they ain't respond, when you holler, funny how dollars to change minds. So he's pretty much reflecting a lot on the streets in Vietnam, the streets in his hometown, and he's pretty much reminiscing on like certain things that have changed. And also, if I didn't mention in 2-6, like he's really coming from a perspective, and I feel like in this album, and it reflects also on this, he's reflecting on the image that he has, his celebrity as J. Cole, but then I really feel like he wanted to, it's looking like he's trying to look at that moniker of his name and really is trying to end it and dead it and pretty much go back to what he really once knows was as Jermaine, like as what people will figure him out and really what he really knows for. And also he's looking at it from like he's looking at it from a lens of like I said, 10 years, a 29-year-old, a younger self, and that's what I gather from the chorus. And I like that. I like that in this chorus because, and I like that in this song, it's because he's really feeling like when you're a part of, when this is your hometown, you're a product of your environment, you cannot run from what you grew up off of. You cannot run from the areas that you know while they still here, while they still lasting. You want to have that effect. You want to have that affected image on people, a positive image. And he's reflecting on that in a way where it's really good. And now I didn't really like, at first, I didn't really care for the futures part. F, do you know about my passion? F, do you know about my pain? F, do you know about my struggle? F, do you know about Jermaine? Like, I didn't really like at first how it was coming off as, but I took it as an interpolation of another classic record. And I thought that was really nice. I thought that was really cool. I felt like it felt like it kind of reminded me of like Memphis sound, a little bit of Atlanta down south sound. It reminded me a lot of those records too. And I think that's why Future, was on there, and J. Cole wanted to get him on there because he get him on there, get Future on a record of his 10 years ago, but just never had the chance to get to that point that he was going to be on there. So he figured that this is the last time to do that. I like when Cole says on here, when serving rock on the desert blocks, trying to cause a frenzy, to profit quickly, I'm passing by, my pocket's empty. I'm trying to make a legal dollar seem harder than guarding Wemby. And when you're hardly 6 feet tall, if somehow I could ball, I better work on my handles, because niggas go try to rip me. Don't want to rip, but if I want to leave, it gotta lift me. I'd rather sit in a Bentley and be a owner of providing be like the owner, like providing kidneys. Wow, that was crazy. Crazy bars right there. I know the loved ones not extend deep, but I choose my homies wisely. Seen too many die From the Friends beat, Big Dreams changed the world back when they ride a 10 speed. That was really, really dope lines and really, really dope bars right there, man. Yeah, you gotta love Cole when he does that. So yeah, really enjoyed that record. Another record I really like on here. Hold on, get to that. Let's get to the next song I really like. It's Poor Thing. And I feel like this, along with the many other records, is the more upbeat, up-tempo side of Cole, as he's pretty much already had these records in mind, had these records encompassed and in whole. And I like when lines when he says, picture my soul climbing out of infinite holes where niggas died over pride and lived for the dough. If I survive, I strive to hit with the flow, hoping these waves were paid, the rippless is slow. I'm conflicted with the digits to show the fantasies are frivolous, gripping this pole. My temperature's low, but you know I ain't stumbling a little in from sliding the tires on the whip in the snow. I really like that. I really like those lines. It's really getting to that point, that nitty and gritty, that grind, aggressiveness, aggression. When he also says fist clench with the niggas distance, they knowing lies expire. When niggas pride gets higher, the vocal range is sigh, but rise vocal chain. That's a really, really good uh, alliterations and a little bit of like metaphors, knowing get the price when pride gets higher, the vocal range is higher, the vocal chain. I thought that was a little bit of alliteration, a nice way of putting it together. And he said post-traumatic stress on the immature brain leaves another corpse, young pup playing war games. No one now he's handcuffed, old lady saying poor thing. And that pretty much, of course, is he's talking about the untreated trauma, the streets, untreated trauma, explaining that children aren't just bad, but they're acted out of damaged psyches, which inevitably leads to handcuffs and course mentions. So yeah, a dope way, a dope bars right there, man, from Cole. You gotta love what he does on there, man. He really puts it together so well, so adequately. Um, and I like the last part before I get there, where he says, "Here to do a song Had to do a song when the itch get off my sternum. These niggas go back home, been talking slick and I ain't done heard of them. But your name going, niggas gonna throw the dirt what they dirt on, make some calls, niggas gonna act like you ain't earn them. He ain't talk like he live, but I remember him from high school, man, deep down inside. So I wanna hurt him. It's a pride, it carried it like as a burden. My ego's flirting. And when they close the curtain, put your hands up, and they put up the curtain. Now I'm trying to figure out, and particularly, and when I heard this, who was he talking about in this case? And that was kind of interesting. So I guess he's looking at a. I guess he lays. I guess he's looking at laying it down in a personal diss. And like I said, I guess aimed at a local rapper from his area in North Carolina. So I guess that's probably what he was aiming for. But that was kind of crazy that he's doing that. I was surprised that he's aiming at that person. And I also like a little Boosie reference too. Set it off, where he kind of said you want to talk your ish, you want to run your mouth, some gangsters in the front of your house. Yeah, I like that reference too. That's from Lil Boosie's song "Set It Off." So that's another interpretation of there on that record. So I really thought that was really cool. Really good track. I like the production that was helped and featured by T Minus and DSL, Omen, Alchemist, Havoc from Mob Deep also was on the production on this album. So you're gonna see them a lot on here. Let's go to the song Bounce Road Blues. So the song "Bounce Road Blues" with Future and Tim's. I like this song and I like the production. The production feels very like what typical Alchemist does, like dark and ominous, but a little bit of chiller and more laid back aesthetic. And I like the fact he says, and what Cole says, I don't get it. I ain't suggesting you fire your weapon at 12, but hell, why the F do we feel it? Looking at us like who deserve to be killed? Meanwhile, Capitol Hill been making it easy for them to go on stuff us themselves. I ain't no preacher for real. I just cut it on the mic and start letting it spill. And I been leaving the trail. And you played my albums and you found a letter reveal. A suicide note. Come here, look what I wrote, but I'm about to kill myself at FJ Cole. I won't even want this role. I want to rebuild myself. Tuck my pole under the driver's seat. Don't try to reach. I bust a hole right in your frontal lobe, and it's a lobotomy. 2 months ago, I was on Bunts Road. The nigga done spotted me. Said, "What up, Cole?" Said, "Nigga, love you, Bo." And he's so proud of me. He touched my soul. Wasn't too long that I was here over at 70s, first middle, and my very first little girlfriend. And I take you for field or two. So yeah, he's pretty much looking at his image and like really doesn't want to go by the moniker from what I want to from his own perspective. He wants to try to rebuild, remold, and really try to look at himself just more as Jermaine and not just the rapper, not the artist. He just don't want to be known as the artist. He want to be known more of the person of his human side. I like the choruses by I like the verses by Future as well, and I like the refrain where he says, "Will you be around when I'm ready? Will you? I'd rather go. Will you be happy? I don't want to leave you alone." Future is kind of doing an Usher interpolation of "Nice and Slow," but he says 7 o'clock on the dot. I'm on my drop top, cruising the streets that I grew up in. I didn't want to think the same back then. And saying, "Oh, we changed, my nigga. That's when the pistols go pop, bodies drop, and they got the block blocked. It's the police. We ain't seen nothing. I just rolled up my weed and got the puffing and lay back in my seat. And yes, I'm numb again." Like I like that. I like that part of Future in this verses right here. And again, that 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 top of the intro of the verse was really nice. And Tim's, I thought she was really good with the bridge in here. And I like when Tim's also comes in when she says, "Finally you lose when you choose to neglect the roots that we grew up in to protect us. The sun has blinded me lately. One day you'll find your lights out and you'll always be a bright star to me." I thought that was a dope way of putting together that record. So really good, really good way of putting it together in that song. All right, so then this is the song "Who the F Is You," and this is pretty much the song that played at the intro of "Fall Off Is Inevitable" record. And then, of course, I like the first part of this song where he says, "Come through the style of the unibrow unibomber who maneuvered through the drama with a suit of armor, moving calmer than the Buddha, ducking funeral parlors. And evil ate the paper with the ego with the people who you well for dollars. Let off the troop of hollows and German Rogers that used to do with honors, congruent with the shit that I do with rhymers, Deuteronomy, ancient niggas do to honor me, and what I'm quoting is God sculpted and view the pottery. Ablaze with graveyards and destitute economies. F all the thug bones and refusing to move and on in harmony. And drug trafficking, slugs blasting, we move accordingly." Like that's just really good, rhyme schemes, and really good way of putting together some rhyme schemes from Cole. Man, he's really always known for that. There are some gun bars also in here. You know, I thought that was really good. I thought that was really crazy. I thought that was crazy. I thought he really put it together so well on this record, man. And even the beat switch also when it gets to that part, because that was the best part about this record. What he says, call Peter, telling the tell call Peter, then people chopping the bird in half, go further down what is gonna be to earn the math, exchange pounds for dollars and converted cash. Welcome to the South when they serving dirt and grass. The streets ain't safe. I prefer the deserted path. Was walking down my Walkman one day when I heard a blast, lining up the shower of the earth through into thirds. I gasped how as my legs got to turning fast, straight past the victim hurt and heard it bad. Heard way back, he slick. He tried to take a half a brick. Yeah, that was a crazy, crazy way of putting it together, man. Um, and again, like I said, this is more of the braggadocious, just humbly braggadocious and more or less boastful side of Cole that we haven't seen before. He absolutely left Earth on this record, man. I really enjoyed it. Once again, he really puts it together so elegantly, so well, and so crafted together, man. All right. And then the last song I'm going to talk about on this record, drum and bass. Before I even get to that record, drum and bass I thought was cool. I thought it was a really cool way of doing a lot more darker piano bass. And I like, the F I'm talking about, like just that Southern slang. He had a lot of Southern slang and had some really interesting way of putting together some really putting together some good lines in there. He really sounded hungry. Like I said, so far throughout this runtime, he really sounded hungry. He really sounded comfortable, like he was in his spot. The Let Out, I wasn't really the biggest fan of this record. Didn't really care for this one. The refrain singing didn't really interest me. Bombs in the Ville, Hit the Gas. I wasn't really the biggest fan of this record. The Hit the Gas part where he really snaps and goes in at the end, I thought was really good. But as far as the song goes, it's not a song that I'm really looking to go back to like that. So those would be the two records that I really did not care for. Now, the track Lonely at the Top is very interesting though too because I like this one where he pretty much is referring to his spot in the top three or his spot as far as people as fans, hip hop fans and even J. Cole fans and even like fans that are in this generation of 2010s rap, put him in that conversation with Drake and Kendrick. And he pretty much is reflecting on those questions and those thought process where he kind of says, listen, I want to help my favorites to find that spark again somewhere deep in their hearts again. Man, chasing them is how I made it. When I felt this from a while, couldn't frame it in the proper rhythms. It seems like they stopped just giving it all F and hate it. Well, where you're supposed to look on the days when you feel unmotivated, when all your heroes either disappeared or sound deflated. The younger generation's too hellified. I won't debate it. I still find it hard to replicate when I'm looking long and lately. The childish admiration, I'm back and I had posters hanging. I did my best with this at first. And maybe there's no explaining, just venting and no complaining. But listen to me, for years I felt like my only child with no one to play with. The older kids I watch run up slides in the wrong way or hanging upside down from monkey bars. And while I was looking from afar, hoping that would be for that future day. And he's also reflecting on his childhood a lot in this record. He's also reflecting on, not just the top artists in the game. He's also reflecting on his childhood, reflecting on his past, um, looking back and reminiscing on memories that he had, you know, growing up in Fayetteville and like also growing up in NC. And because he always said he said in a podcast, The Inevitable, with his manager Ibrahim, that he didn't really have and didn't really grow up in that prototypical traditional sense of rap and hip hop. And he also didn't like I said, grew up without growing up with a father walking out on him when he was very young, and his mother when he was very young. So he kind of just didn't have that sense of having a two parent household. So he kind of just looking at this sense of being lonely at the top of like, yo, of falling out of the hunger and that falling out at one point, but then coming back and finding that hunger and passion. So I like this record. I think this is one of the better records on the first disc. All right, so that was disc one. Let's go to disc two, and we're not gonna make this way too long. All right, so I already talked about the Fall Off is Inevitable record. Uh, let's go to a record that's pretty interesting though too. I like the track Old Dog, and this is with Petey Pablo, produced by him and T Minus. And if you notice, it's a lot of Southern appearances on here on this album as well. A lot of Southern roots on here as well. You know, so I wouldn't be surprised with that. So I like in this I like in this chorus where he says 2-6 was the blueprint, yeah, it made me. Old Dog was the new tricks out of baby. No more record deal, yeah, I'm fresh up out of slavery. Yeah, you gotta talk your stuff because you pretty much, like I said before, he bought his way uh, out of that company, out of record label of inside of Rock Nation, bought back his masters. So that's pretty much what he referring to. And then when he says, "Oh, I'm back home for the time being," Cole stayed up at NC. That's where you'll find me in. Right up at 95. We had a little town meeting down in the Ville. If you real, but then you chime me in. Nah, real don't mean that you still got paper you ride a Benz or selling white your clients that don't mind skin. Now you real. Now you're being real to me. You stand on what the F you do. We on the map. We in Atlanta. We snuck in on though. And I had a plan to put it on the land. I'm accustomed to precarious and the random niggas clutching tools. It's nothing new. Carrying hammers in the public schools. Heard talking down. But then it's FM2. It's nothing new. We hate you for a long while. Before I blew, we was known for the problem child of Carolina. Bear in mind, we never had. But now it's the gold is from this is all the past tense. We gassed it. Man, that was some really good rapping. And I like when Petey Pablo comes on here and this is it sounds this record and what he's in this refrain going off of what Cole's chorus does. It sounds very familiar. Carolina ish. Ho, you don't forget talking your shirt off and just around in this. The money is the mindset and you already rich. Take your effing shirt off and swing it around. Like in this, like it really sounds very familiar. Like I cannot put my finger on it. This record in particular, it sounds very familiar to a lot of older '90s Memphis sound. I cannot remember exactly, and a lot of Carolina sound as well. I cannot remember the artist, but I know it sounds very familiar. But really, a really dope song, really dope track. Definitely one I'm gonna go back to a lot. So check out the track "Old Dog." It's really dope. All right, then we got the song "Life Sentence," another one of my favorite records on here, and this is an ode to, of course, a lot of people may think that this is an ode to, well, who the F is you is a sample of Mob Deep dropping the gem on him. I think "Life Sentence" is referring to a Mob Deep record, but also is referring to DMX, how it's going down. And I like in this line where he says, "For all my ends down doing life with what they did day one, who held it down with the credit wasn't A1. You thanking God, but it was looking for a great one. He took a rib out your chest and he made one. To be a man and hold it down and take a brave one when it's coming around and you crave something. My flow switch to slow the pace is this the mace one. I'm not a player, but I'm cruising like like I like the lake pond. Let's take one." The definition of rider, one by my one side, I had a dollar out to my name. Before the crowd would holler for Jermaine, you saw potential waiting for you. Hit my line was suspenseful. When we was kids, this was simple. Bikes like girls got a man. Boy stays in my lane, maybe provides a friend. Knowing at the end, buddy gonna fumble. Was far from the toughest around and buddy gonna rumble. When it was necessary, when it started talking reckless, he did not step for them niggas with the chest poked out or over you, or that the veil come out. No doubt we fell in love, but my dreams, ain't about. And I knew we rap, but you ain't know my both of my goals. Want to take over the globe through the mic, and one day me and you gonna be doing life. He's pretty much talking about he talks about in the first verse, you know, about his time being more so his homies, his homies doing time, and his homies you know, doing time for getting into some illegal activity and everything. Then he goes and reflects about his life with his kids and his woman, you know, and his wife. And I think he had said it had multiple kids, and I think the title of before this album came out, like it's a boy, and like he referring to having two children. So I like that he refers back to that on this record. I like in this verse he said, "Oh, the puppy love has grown and now it's flow bone. Since childhood I vowed to have a good time. White picket fence with the wife cooking, yellow whites with the couple kids that's nice looking, and I promise to treat her right. I like what I've seen in my life examples, marriages in shambles. And I can tell I found a real one, smart, loyal, real pretty, and we can build something. At first, I got a lot of work to do." This record was incredible, man. I love the storytelling on here. I love what Cole is pretty much like I said in the first verse. He's talking about so much about his homies doing time. He's talking about the life that he has with his kids, and now he's talking about his marriage. So he's talking about three different stories and wrapped up into one, and it really makes it so worthwhile. And yeah, this record just feels like it feels like he's really passionate in making these records. He feel like he's really getting down to the story and the nitty gritty of it, man. And then he also said all types of games are being played, how it's going down, and it's on until it's gone. I've got to know now. Is you with me or what? And you really think he in love? I put this ring on you forever. What's up? I put this ring on you forever. What's up? Yeah, man. Really, really dope song. I like the production on here. And most of the production I like on this album because it very much is, like I said, interpretations. It's not like he's trying to bite anybody at all. He feels very humble, he feels very inspired, and he feels very tactical with how he puts it together. And the chops and keys and like and the chops and the keyboards and the strings also pulled together from some of these classic records. You almost feel like, yeah, you can go back and listen to classic records. It feels like he's pulling all these refrains of these records and images and themes and really saying something as a love letter to hip hop on the second disc. And I thought that was really great and what he did with that. So yeah, really good song. Um so to two more tracks. Now, I Love Her Again is probably my favorite record on this whole entire record. This is him and Jake One production. And this is a ode to Common's song The Light and I Used to Love Her. So yeah, this is definitely an ode to that record, man. I really enjoy. This is an ode to Common's song I Used to Love Her. I really like the fact that he made an ode to a lot of records on here, and that together when he said this, I never knew a love like this. Gotta be something for me to write this. Now, there's gonna be a lot of there's gonna be a lot of people didn't really care for the earlier part of this record because it very much sounds like he's the certain knocks, you know, kind of feel a little bit off kilter and off putting. I think he deliberately kind of intentionally did that. The knocks and the boards and the key, he kind of deliberately not did that on purpose to try to get you to concentrate on his part, and not concentrate just as much so on the actual classic record I Used to Love Her from Common. And this time, he's coming from the perspective of rapping, of loving hip hop, but loving it again in a sense of finding that integrity, that the duality of just loving it as a woman with the integrity, with the name, and then of course with the presence, while being inspired by so many artists of his past to put it together, man. Yeah, he really, really puts it together. So the difference between the girl next door and or a prostitute, I heard some older brothers say that they knew her from before. She lost her common sense when niggas brought her on tour. And it's all about the money now. They label her a whore. And I heard that they was saying, but she about to seem so pure because I seen the beauty in her face when she would pass. I wanted to date her, but there was no way for me to ask because I was just a youngin'. She was ripping and running, but I knew I got older when the day when we met last. I went to college in New York, and because I heard that she was there, but I got to town, I swear it was she disappeared. I went to hit the tunnel and said where she would hang, and I got off the train and I saw it closed for years. I showed this picture to this kid. It helped me find her, yo. She said he looked and said, "Man, I just left a little while ago." When I saw her with some luggage on the way to JFK, and I asked what she was doing, she said, "Moving to the A." And then he says, and then in the second verse, he says, "Yeah, my heart was broken, dog. I wanted to be there where she was at. I was happy in a way that South was on the map, but niggas in the barbershop ain't feel the same as me. Shorty changed as he left the city. She got whacked. They wanted her back, and then she said she was sounding like she was trapped. They had the slang she used when her fingers snapped. And it's funny how the tables turned several years later. These would be the same dude started in the same ish was Cap. I said I was in love with her, and I couldn't hide the fact. I found her on the internet, kept her with her like that. And I sent a lot of messages. She finally wrote me back. When I dropped the mixtape, she said she liked the way I rap." Yeah, I'm not gonna go with it too much, but just the lyrics, I like the way he was going into it. I like the way he was again talking from the perspective of like what it was like, going from different places, going from different cities, and finally feeling like he is at home again, in a sense, in his hometown, and rapping from the perspective of that with a sense of love and integrity and just the hunger and just want to compete and just want to compete by rapping. So I thought that was really nice and really dope. All right, and let's get to probably my favorite song and one of my favorite songs on this too, and that is the What If record, and that is attributing to Tupac and Biggie, and this is also featuring Moray. And of course, in the first verse, he's talking from the perspective of Pac, where he says, "What's up, Pac? I heard the record that you did just drop is bubbling. Got me wondering what the love would stop. Hit him up. Maybe I should. Right before the issue left, the streets is a bit upset. You claiming that you f my, but the check instead of escalating at the time, they say big, let's decimate him, and telling him let's chill because although he violated in my heart, I can never hate him. I love you. I hope I ain't too late when you got shot. I came to visit you in Bellevue, but you was sleeping. Let me peek in. I say a prayer by your bedside, bandages covering the bleeding. I'm thinking, dog, I told you, watch as close as you know you dudes. And they won't hesitate until they smoke it. You left while you was locked. I should have wrote you, but life happens, bro. It promotes mass shows to you. So no excuse. I didn't do what I was supposed to because I would provoke you, and your vocals spoke my name into the negative tone, and what you stared at the walls in the cell on your own. I wonder how long it'd be until you came home and got your money. Started looking at me funny. Perhaps you might have felt betrayed or played you, and I thought you knew the setup and I could have saved you. Or maybe it's because as maybe you came out and start some war, East Coast, West Coast, and now the media is trying to force it. Of course, it's entertainment, but the world is full of ignores that view, and the rich and famous are the heroes and villains with no feelings. And then I like the chorus with him and Moray where he says, "What if I could turn back the hands of time? What if I could turn back hands of time? What if the bull never got in the way? You still be my end to this day." And I was saying, what if I could turn back the hands of time and today? And then, of course, Cole gets into the second verse. He says, today I was in Vegas until I opened your letter. I cried all these pages. I've been trying to get it together. I'm coming out to New York. Got to find you in person. to look you dead in your eyes and you know I've been hurting, moving off the pure adrenaline, never knew was certain who's on my side and who's obliged to closing my curtains in the midst of clenched fists and picked up the sword. I know there's money in my violence and I know there's profit in war, but issue that you left me to hang and gave you gain, rapper. And I said you switched up your lane, you consent resembling mine, and brought you fame and didn't complain. I cheer you on, you was disdain at the time. And my destiny brought me pain from kicking it with some venomous games. I know the same for the ones that brought me out. I ain't listen. The trigger squeeze, my paranoia noticed you in the vicinity. So the way they sentenced me, lords, milked me for penny, and all I could think to sell was my memory. Yeah, man, that was a really great second verse telling two different sides in the first perspective of Tupac, and in the second verse in the sense of what Biggie would do. And of course, these are two things that happened that escalated into the East Coast West Coast beef at the time, and which it should have never even got to that point. So I feel like Cole is looking from the perspective of that versus now where he looks at certain artists like his brothers, like friends in a sense, but not anymore, I guess, because none of them really even got to that violent point or even got to a sense of a violent point in this case. So that's where I kind of think he was going from the perspective of that. And I thought he executed that really good, really solidly. And that was the last track I'm going to talk about. The Whole World in the Ville, it was okay. And then Ocean's Way, I thought was kind of a little bit of a sleeper of a closing track. It's not the one that I would have expected. So I thought that record was just all right. But anyways, as we leaving the case with this album, my thoughts on the fall off from J. Cole. Now, for a lot of people's sake, it'll be interpreted in so many different ways from the first disc. I felt like the first disc was more upbeat, up tempo, and was owed and paid homages a lot to as soon as he came home at the age of 29, of like all of the southern flares, all of the other like attributing to like southern roots, country roots and everything. And I feel like he grabbed a lot of artists that really complimented him well. And I really feel like he had something to say. I really feel like he had a message. He really dealt with things coming home, the violences, the pressure of just living up to, his image, his moniker as Cole. And I feel like in this too, while he has attributing and a love letter to hip hop, he looking at it from a sense of just Jermaine, like, yo, why? Let me get back to what I was known for. Let me get back to what got me started in the love for hip hop in the first place. So yeah, that's what I think about both of these records. I thought both of these records were solid. Again, there's songs like Bombs in the Ville, Hit the Gas, I wasn't really the biggest fan of. The Let Out, Legacy, I wasn't really the biggest fan of those records. I would not keep those. But at least I'm keeping at least about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm keeping at least about 9 tracks on disc 1. And I'm keeping at least about maybe about 5 to 6 tracks on disc 2. So that's at least about like 15, 16 songs on here. I thought he executed the album well. I thought it was a really well put together project. Was it worth the 10 years that he was, explaining in the conversations? And was it worth the 6-year wait, coming off of what he did with KOD, and then coming off of 10 years what he did with Forest Hills Drive? Was it worth the wait? 10 years? I mean, that's up for your guys' interpretation. But I just don't know if that was the case. But it was a really dope final album. And if it is his final album, he really went out with an absolute banger, and he really continued to stay true to what he wants to know and what he loves. So yeah, I try not to make this video long, but hey, it's J. Cole's final album, so I had to make it as long as I can to try to explain everything and try to break down the lyrics as best as I can. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the album. Tell me what you guys think down in the comment section below. Thank you to those who was watching and liking and commenting and sharing and subscribing. I'm out of here. Peace. Whew.